Welcome, everybody. Seller Club Podcast episode number 9. Anna, what's up?
Number 9. Not
Wow.
much. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey guys, it's December. Can you feel it?
Brr, so chilly. So cold.
Yeah,
Wow, you guys are really incredible actors.
No, the crazy part though is, was it last year, Glen, that El Paso had like earlier snow than Ohio?
Oh.
I think it was just like the snow that doesn't stick. It just kind of like comes down and then it just goes away. But I think it was earlier.
On the road.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been really nice lately here in Ohio. What about you, Anna?
Yeah, same. I mean, not in Ohio, but in Illinois. It's been the same. Very nice, like, during the day, extremely temperate. Borderline, like mid-November, borderline too warm almost during the day. But, it's been very pleasant, actual, proper fall season where it feels like fall, which is so fun.
That's true. It's just kind of like a crew neck kind of weather. I haven't really worn any jacket yet. What about you, Glen?
Well, Ken says that right now, but let me just paint this picture for you guys because I know you're just listening. You can't really see visually what's going on. Ken has 3 scarves and kind of one of those puffy jackets, like he's kind of puffed. And then he has the Timbs, which Tim's crazy right now. And like 3 beanies. It is cold, it is chilly. Now drop that beat.
Now that everybody's warmed up, let's get
it's a
down
hot
to
beat.
business.
Yeah, that's nice and toasty. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. We're ready to go. We're ready.
Yeah.
Today's topic. We're going to cover eBay's 2023 Small Business Report, which it's kind of, it's super interesting, but I didn't really even know this existed.
Well, it's kind of new. It's only the 2nd annual. And I think it's really interesting that they are doing this. So I think that's probably why we didn't know a lot about it.
But how new is it if this year is going to end? Because it's 2023. Right?
Well, yeah.
So now we already need a new one already, 2024.
Yeah.
Well, they'll do that at the end of 2024.
Yeah, I'm assuming this was
just
from
annual
22 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think interesting though. I wonder when they actually polled people about it, Maybe it says.
Exactly. Now, did they poll Anna and Ken on this?
Not that I recall, but there is some cool information about who all they did poll for it in general, not name by name, but we'll definitely get into that when we get into the report.
Well, all I know is I don't see my face in this report.
I don't see you or Phil.
Yeah, I don't see.
Or Yinka. Where's Yinka?
Yeah, Yinka should definitely be on here.
Yeah.
We love you, Yinka, if you're listening.
Just one of those nice Kenny promotional photos would be nice for this small business report.
Yeah, I mean that would make me give this report a shout out at least.
Exactly.
But
man, so joke's on you because you already are right now.
Yeah, this guy's everywhere. You type in other like random eBay stuff, and then Ken might come up on the Google images, which we found that out pretty recently.
That is so true. We actually have to expose that. What, Glenn? What did you type? And
no, I'm not.
He's a homie. He's a homie.
He's a homie.
Yeah, he actually came to my eBay live the other day.
Well, what if he starts getting a bunch of random requests now? Because no, not followers, but people just start looking him up. Like, who is this guy? I don't know if he wants that.
I mean, he probably has a LinkedIn or something. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's just call him our homie. Let's call him under the alias of Chuck. Let's call him
good alias.
Chuck.
Yeah. So so when Glenn Googled who Chuck is, my face popped up in JC's.
It was absolutely not Chuck's face.
No,
weirdly it was.
Yeah, it was Kenny and JC.
Yeah.
All right, so the small business report. Should I read the second part of it? eBay empowers everyone, everywhere, to build their brands, reach customers around the globe, and find success on their own terms.
Mm.
Our 2023 Small Business Report examines how our sellers start their businesses, the ways eBay supports their success, and their optimistic outlook for the future, sharing insights from a survey of 4,334 sellers in the US, United Kingdom, Germany, Canada, Japan, and Australia.
That is a
So,
lot.
yeah, over 4,000 sellers all gave their feedback on this report. So what's kind of cool is like little poll questions,
Mhm.
and see what little survey. Let's see what they say. Our survey shows small business sellers are optimistic about their business future, both on eBay and more broadly. Okay. This optimism does not extend, however, to their national or global economies, where a plurality of sellers expect declines.
So
Mm.
people are more optimistic about their individual success on eBay than they are about the economy that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
That
Their home
I, I
economy.
I like that. I think that goes to show you that the 4,334 sellers they surveyed are not YouTubers.
I think it's interesting too that they're from all these different versions of eBay, right? Because as we
That is true.
know, as US eBay sellers, eBay UK, eBay Australia, like those are
Hmm.
separate sites. They're
Yep, they
different
are. Yep.
eBays. I mean, they're still
mm-hmm.
under the company, but they
Mhm.
don't have the same, you know, market that we do necessarily. Because we're listing essentially on different sites, different
Mhm.
currencies, different languages in some cases.
Yep.
So I think it's really cool that they pulled across all of those. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean,
So, oh, go ahead.
kidding aside on that topic, um, I think you should be. You should be very optimistic individually for your own business because we've said it over and over again. There are a lot of things that are in our control as entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whether it's going all in, going harder, ride a wave, or pull back when the wave's not there, and really create your own strategy.
Yeah.
You have to be optimistic when you're trying to create business strategies and business moves for your business's future. I think the only time you should be worried is if you're not willing to change. If you're not willing to
Mm.
change, you're in a bad spot.
It's so true. Like even what Glenn just read at the top of the report, where when we're looking at the media fact sheet, by the way, that's like all the highlights from the report. So and we'll link to
Mm-hmm.
that. But you know, people creating businesses on their own terms, like that is a huge reason why this is what I do as my quote unquote full time job now. Like my hours and my work effort and load like varies a lot, but this is my main thing, is my main source of income, and it is on my terms. And I think on the double-edged sword is that we have more control than we think we do. And I think that the proof of that is when you can look around at other sellers. Maybe they're in different niches, maybe they have different business models, yada yada. We're all different, but like there are plenty of people still finding lots of success, all around me, even when my own store is slow or whatever. Like I can look around and see people who are not having a slow moment, and I'm like, okay, well there's a way to do this then. And you can either look around and see all the reasons why you can't do something, or you can decide you're going to find out how you can. And I think you have to have some optimism, like you said, Ken, if you're going to have that attitude, because otherwise it is so easy to just let your circumstances tell you what is and what isn't, and that's not always the truth. It's just the circumstances for the moment. So optimism is key. So I love that that's the frame for this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Let's start off with the first three. Or maybe just go one by one. I'm not sure, but so the first one, 90% of sellers say eBay wins when its sellers win.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 out of 10
Yeah.
say
There has to be one. It has to be that one guy.
9 out of 10
No.
sellers say eBay wins when its sellers win.
I agree. I'm one
Yeah.
of the 9. I'm one of the 9. What about you, Anna?
Right. You're not one of the 430 something that said no
Yeah. Oh,
or
that's
whatever.
true.
I don't know how
So,
this was measured. I don't know,
oh yeah, out of 90% probably out of the 4,334. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Where's Anna getting this number?" I was like, "She just math in
because
front
I
of
can
us,
do
Glen."
move the decimal over one spot and find 10%.
Yeah. So out of 4,333, there's 434 people that said no.
Either said
Yeah.
no or they chose an option besides,
eBay.
you know,
I
I
wonder
don't know
what
if
that
it was like a
option was.
Likert scale, like 1 through 5, or if it was yes or no,
Mm.
or I don't know how it was measured. But
No, I would say so. I mean, given that eBay is really, one of the OG platforms. I read it before that eBay's the only one in its that has survived as a tech company over the years. I think
yeah,
everybody got bought out, so
right.
that's a feat. That's a
I
feat.
also feel like, anecdotally, I mean, we have some friends at this point, in eBay who work for eBay that we've gotten to know and become friends with doing, partnering with eBay, creating content for eBay Open and stuff like that. And I think that the people that we know, that is like 100% true, that their attitude towards us as sellers and the efforts that we are able to partner with them to do, whatever, creating content for the conference or whatever else, other projects and stuff, like it is very much like a joint effort. We're a
Yep.
team, we're working together. Like that's the spirit of it. And that feels
Hmm.
like it's the spirit of the whole company, but also just like literally the structure and the way that it's set up. Like
Yeah.
your fees are, what pays for eBay to run. And if you're not making sales, then for the most part, by and large, you're not paying fees. Like, yeah, you might have a store fee, you might have a little bit of listing fees, like, but that's so nominal compared to like,
Right.
you know, the what
Yeah.
results from the sale, which is really what they're trying to incentivize across the board. Like it just has
Yeah.
always been set up as a win-win, in my opinion.
And I feel like these next two kind of throw it off. Cuz this one is like it's kind of like a gimme stat, I would say,
Right.
right? Like,
Mm,
90% of sellers, win, everyone's happy.
yeah.
The next one, 68% expect their business on eBay to increase over the next 5 years.
Mm.
Okay.
So,
Not as high.
Not nearly
would
as
you have
high.
thought maybe like 80%? Or is that high? 75%? 68%?
Yeah, that's below passing rate.
Exactly.
75 is passing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a C. Expect their business on eBay to increase over the next
Wait,
5
wait.
years.
So here's the thing, though. It says increase. Maybe a bunch of them. The rest just wants to maintain.
Right. Well, that's what I
Like
was
how
thinking.
Kenny's doing right now. We're just maintaining. We're
Right.
Yeah.
we're getting
Like
our
this.
profits. I like the
Yeah.
size of my store.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking on bombarding my store with a bunch of inventory. I just want to keep
Mm-hmm.
this machine going. I like what I'm
Yeah.
Right.
doing.
Because that could be read as like, okay, I'm not trying to grind the next 5 years,
Yeah.
or that may be like the demographic of sellers or the maturity of business in eBay, because we all know that eBay has been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So either you're a youngin, a Gen Z, or a Gen X kind of seller that is still trying to scale your business, or it could be people that already have kind of like find their groove, or even probably slowing down and moving to retirement kind of phase. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's interesting. I wish there was an explanation on that one, huh?
I have another thought about this, but I don't want to step on your line, Glenn, because it has to do with the next one.
I know that's
Like,
what that's what I was about to
okay,
say.
well, let's
Do
go
it,
go
do
to the
it, do
next
it, do
one.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
so
then
the
I'll.
next one says 55% of eBay sellers expect their overall business to grow in the next 12 months.
Yeah. So now we've lopped off another 13%. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting. The time frames are different otherwise it's pretty much the same question, right? So like
Yeah,
Yep.
it
to
is.
me, that also accounts for, okay, maybe people are feeling like well, in the shorter term, the economy's
The
really
economy, yeah.
has us in for it, but overall, we're going to be okay and we're going to keep growing.
Yeah.
That combined with the people who, like you said, Ken, like maybe they have a steady state kind of business and
Hmm.
they're just maintaining, keeping the machine going, like you said, Glenn, like, but then when you add in, well, what about in the shorter term and people are like buckling their seatbelt for a rough economy, it knocks down even further. But it is
Yeah.
interesting that it's still over 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
I mean, that's
So it's more of
pretty
a short term.
optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, semi
Yeah.
short term, I guess for a full
Yeah.
year, went
Yeah.
down to
That's true. Because
55%. So,
mhm.
hmm. What'd you
because
think about
some
that
Yeah.
one,
because
Kenny?
some people might be like very realist, right? Like kind of like the half glass empty and half glass full kind of thinking. Um I would say that's very a realist take, because if you didn't predict for this year, or if you didn't pivot until this year, then it's kind of like too late.
Mm,
Like, so if you saw 22 or 23 was going to be rougher than 22, or like slower than 22, it's kind of like what we've talked about way before, that 22 it's not going to be 21, 20. There has been that kind of like inflated expectation of sales, because coming out of COVID, influx of inventory, sales going on, people still buying. So I think that's I could agree on that one, that the people that have prepped for this year have adjusted already and have a better touch for what next year is going to become. And the other half, if they didn't prep for this year, then they're probably kind of like either maintaining or scaling back, and be like, I don't know what next year, if next year is going to be rougher than this year, then either you're going to have to make some changes, and if not, then it's just going to be a continual declining graph for you.
Yeah,
hmm.
well, like you said, if people are not willing to make changes, then maybe that is kind of a guarantee that it's going to keep declining for them. I mean, and I think that's interesting. What do you guys think about when you hear that? Like somebody who's not willing to make changes, like what type of changes do you feel like people resist the most?
Changes that we resist the most. That's a good question.
I mean, talk about like even your changes, Glenn. Like, you have pivoted from what?
Glenn, would you just
From
agree to change
21,
already? Gosh.
And
from no, from 2021, right? Like
Just kidding.
yeah,
your business has changed so much dramatically, um even with the products, like
yeah, the
how,
products.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like from shoes, maybe more into like the hats and sportswear type of thing. I mean, that was kind of there when doing a lot of like the Ross Burlington stuff, but not really relying on Nike Outlet like I used to. I mean, me and the wife used to go to Nike Outlet every weekend. It was just like,
Hmm.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as many pairs as we can each, and hitting those limits, and if we can take somebody else, and I haven't really done any of that in a good while. But I'm trying to think, I guess, more for like Anna's question, like some of the comments we get on YouTube or some of the comments on IG, like what don't they want to change?
Hmm.
um I mean, I feel like people do really enjoy the like thrifting and the in-store Ross Burlington stuff a lot, and so when it comes to, hey, you can find a supplier, or you can source a lot more online, or maybe even trying new platforms, it's kind of like, oh, well, what if it fails, what if I don't do good, I
Yeah.
don't really want to learn that, especially when like Whatnot came out, or
Right.
some people are
Yeah.
like, like I don't really want to try that. Or and there's nothing wrong with not trying that, especially if you're doing really well, let's say like on eBay. You don't necessarily have to try any other platforms, but
Yeah,
I guess I would say that maybe.
I think a lot of times it boils down to either they don't want to get out of what's been comfortable, even if it's not
Hmm.
working as well anymore, or they're
Yeah.
afraid of failure and or wasting resources, whether that's time or money or something else. Like
Yeah.
anything. It could be in the area of sourcing, it could be taking the time to create an inventory system or do something, to make your business more efficient. That would just be a big pain in the butt. Like,
Hmm.
you know, it could be really anything from end to end in all the different processes of your business, but or like doing your bookkeeping better or whatever. It could be anything, but why are people unwilling to change? I don't know.
Mm.
I think it's interesting to think about. I feel like
Yeah.
there's probably a
No,
few
true.
themes that could be distilled out of there for sure.
Yeah. Well, the next three I feel like are kind of, I don't know, kind of like gimme comments again. They kind of like really relate to one another, almost have the same words and everything.
Yeah.
eBay enables opportunities for SMBs and entrepreneurs, 86%. eBay is a champion of SMBs and entrepreneurs, 76%. eBay helps SMBs and entrepreneurs to thrive, 79%.
Yeah. It's very much like three different ways of asking the same question, but they have different response percentages, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's like, what language do people kind of relate to? Also, SMBs, I'm assuming, is small businesses, but
Yep.
So it's almost like, well, they help me thrive.
Yeah.
But they're not. Well, it says. Well, some say they're the champion.
Yeah.
But then most of them say they just enable opportunities. So enable opportunities is at 86%. Champion is at 76%.
Champions
and
like
thriving is at 79.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those are interesting words to kind of pick, though.
They are.
Champion.
Like, they have different connotations.
Yeah, the world champ.
Yeah. Yeah, right. They're on top. They're fighting for you. Thriving is like you have everything you need in order to succeed. What was the first one? I missed it.
Enables opportunities.
Oh, yeah. Opportunities, right? Which implies maybe the opportunity is given, but if you don't do something with it, it's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not doing the work for you. They're not necessarily fighting for you, but they're giving you the chance.
Yeah, I mean, this is the soft side of it.
Kenny says this is ridiculous. Just
he
get
says
to the
this
next
is
one.
too fluffy.
Yeah, it's
too fluffy. Yeah. Next one, 94% of sellers see a strong connection between eBay and their success. Okay, another gimme
very
one.
high.
Now these next three though I feel like are interesting.
Okay. Do that.
Okay, 29% say my business would not be able to exist without eBay. 29%.
Okay.
Liars.
So that's pretty much
liars.
Liars.
Yeah.
So
the other 70 says they can exist without eBay.
Well, not if they have an eBay store only, I guess. It would be a different business.
Okay, now, yeah, when Ken switched it around, I mean, 71% are saying
they can
exist without eBay.
Or we don't know how it was measured, so maybe they just disagreed or they chose a lesser level of agreement than 100%.
That's true, but they're still liars.
What if they only sell on another platform? They could exist without eBay.
Yeah.
They can't because they sell on eBay too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sell on eBay. But yeah, that is very I want to see what the demographic of survey on who these people are, right? Because if it's like anybody over 30, then they're definitely lying. Because
we're all over 30.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I would have voted like I would have, this should be higher, right? Because I voted accordingly that because even it says, right, eBay is the home of accidental entrepreneurs. That the path to entrepreneurship is, I would say, a lot easier with eBay.
Yeah, but think about all the people who have a brick and mortar who expanded to have an arm of their store that's on eBay. Or, friends, I have friends that started completely on other platforms and then added eBay as their secondary platform. Like, their business did exist without eBay. That doesn't mean it was as successful, or maybe it wasn't the same, but like the business itself
that is true.
can still exist.
That is true.
So like if people are reading that question and that's their situation, I could see why they would answer it that way.
Yeah, they can exist, but existing doesn't mean success. Okay,
wow, that's quotable.
I couldn't see.
Existing does not mean success.
You being alive existing in this earth doesn't mean you're gonna succeed. That is true.
How's
That
that for
is
optimism?
wow.
Is
A quick
existing
turn.
half the battle?
It is at least
No,
half the battle.
no, bro.
No.
Oh, really? Wow. Existing half the battle. What about? What are you talking about? Like you have to think to breathe. You have to
You
think to
can't
eat.
be in
Like,
position to succeed if you're not existing.
yeah. I mean, bro. Like
Chat
existing is
GPT, do
like,
I have to exist to think to breathe?
yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Let's go
you
to
I
the
mean
next one.
one though, going back, I can't let this go. You can't be in business and just think I just want to exist.
Right.
If you
Correct.
go into okay, yes, right? That's the other side.
A
That's the way I
business
think.
cannot just exist and guarantee
Right. I
success.
didn't like
for
open
sure.
this to just like exist. Like, okay, I want to open a business to just make the minimum. I'm like, what? Like,
Or to
no,
just
if
like
I'm
maybe make something and maybe not, and we'll just see what happens.
yeah, that's those
Hey,
are that
IG glorifies this.
you're not a business, you're not a business person, you're not an entrepreneur, you're a gambler. And based on our last episode, it's diagnosable that you have an addiction.
It is not diagnosable. Don't say
No,
that.
gambling is right.
So it's complicated. You can't say that. Like
Okay,
gambling
I can't, but a
is a
doctor can.
thing. Right. We can't say that.
No, I'm saying like it's
Yeah.
diagnosable. Like
Gambling
it is
Gambling
in the
is
category.
Gambling is
not
in the
reselling.
is in the
Yeah.
DSM.
Gambling
That's
is not
all we can
reselling.
say.
But if you're a reseller and just existing, you might as be gambling.
Ken classifies that as gambling.
That's what I'm saying.
All right,
All
Ken,
right.
let's
Any
go to the
views
next one.
expressed-
You need the next one.
Okay.
36% say my business relies a lot on eBay.
That's
Okay, so
still
what does
not
a
very
lot
high.
mean? What does a lot mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Subjective.
low. That's low.
It is low.
Only 36% rely on eBay?
36% of eBay sellers who were surveyed. Yeah.
Right.
That one seems
So-
really low.
Yeah, that means like the other 64 says like I don't need eBay.
Yeah, pretty
Or
much.
I only rely on it a little bit, maybe.
A little
But
bit.
like this is a total Goldilocks and the Three Bears situation, because what is the third one?
My 29% say my business is helped by eBay.
So
Helped.
it's like extreme, involvement, middle of the road involvement. Helped is like the least
like-
involvement of
It's
eBay
like
in your
help is
business.
like so
But,
like
because of
like,
the
I
words
feel
that are chosen here.
Yeah.
I know it's like they were breaking even and then now eBay came in, now they make profit.
It feels like all of these are really low to me.
Yeah.
Especially right after 94% of people said they saw a strong connection between eBay and their success.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So
You know what I mean?
All right. Yeah. I mean, guys, let's put a note on this one. On the 2024, I want to have a discussion podcast with whoever made this.
Ooh.
Kenny.
Can we find out who
Yeah.
deploys-
Oh, we
who
can. We
designs
can
and
find
deploys
out.
the
Yeah,
survey?
we can. Well, we can.
We should.
You're
We
trying to
can.
shut down this report, and they just
I'm not
started,
saying-
like
I
2 years
know.
ago.
But
No,
I have so
just
many
wanna
questions.
I have so many questions. Like who are these people? And whoever's listening to this podcast, make sure to answer the upcoming reports, because I think the people that are listening to this podcast would agree with us that this is low.
Well, yeah.
True.
Okay, fun fact, you guys. I went to get my master's in clinical counseling psychology because I wanted to do research, not because I wanted to be a therapist. And I stumbled into being a therapist because I had to do internships for it, and I discovered that I loved it. However, this kind of stuff's so interesting to me because it's like the design of the research. Like, how are these questions being asked? How are they being measured? Like, I would love to know the behind the scenes of like the putting together of this survey. And like you said, Ken, more the demographic information about the people who were sampled, like that's super
Yeah.
interesting.
I wish they would release that demographic surveyed, right? Because that's allowed, right? The demographic surveyed.
I
That should
think
be allowed,
so.
right?
It's just not supposed
Right,
to have like identifying information, but yeah.
right, like who are, like who are at a certain age bracket and who are making a certain X amount of revenue, because like this could be true, like the 29% of my business would not be able to exist without eBay if majority of these people have brick and mortar.
Yeah.
That would make sense, right? Like who operates on online mostly versus a brick and mortar.
Right.
And considering this is global too, right? Like we're just thinking like, oh, in the US, the people that we know most are online, are heavy
Mhm.
online, right?
Right, right.
But what if in UK, Germany, Canada, and Japan,
It's a lot more
they're
brick and
brick and
mortar.
mortar first, and then
Yeah.
so that's why we gotta talk. Like who's this? We'll
Yeah.
figure
No,
it
that's
out.
a really good
We'll
point.
figure it out. Yeah.
Well, and like
Press.
based on
It's press at ebay.com. We gotta talk to him.
great. Get on that.
Get
Um
a-
based on like some of the way that the statistics are reported on the next page though, I think maybe a lot of these were like yes or no questions
Mm.
because it's just like
Mm.
this many percent or like agree or disagree, just like one or the other. Some of the other numbers that are on the second page of this fact sheet is like
Have
very, it's more
intensity.
like a Likert
Intensity.
scale,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Agree a
Yeah.
lot, agree somewhat, whatever. Don't agree. Extremely well, very well, moderately well is like on some of the next ones, but
Yeah, because the next page, Glenn, go to that next one. The
Okay. All right.
numbers there
All right. Let's get it
are,
started.
yeah.
61% of sellers identify as accidental entrepreneurs, which is what you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. They didn't plan to become entrepreneurs. They just start selling and be like, wait, I can make money here. And then the next thing you know, eBay was detrimental to the start of their journey.
Mm. It says more than
oh
6 in 10 sellers say that accidental entrepreneur describes them well. These self
yes.
reported accidental entrepreneurs told us that eBay, and then these are the three,
Ooh,
91% say eBay makes it easy to turn a passion into a business.
I agree. No
So this
questions.
is
No questions, sir.
just
No questions.
of the accidental entrepreneurs, the people who
Yeah, yeah,
identified
yeah.
that way, they have much higher numbers. That's very
The,
interesting.
yeah, the
Yeah,
six people out of 10
right.
said, yeah. They said, yeah. Like
91% of those six
I won't
people
be here,
said,
right? I
yeah,
won't be here without eBay.
And then
cool.
86% of these um, accidental entrepreneurs say eBay is unique among online marketplaces.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean it's harder to list. I'm just joking.
What? Ken-
It is
Kenny's
harder
going
to
in.
list on
Ken is like
eBay.
in a spicy mood today. I don't know
Oh, I
why.
like
Yeah,
it
I mean,
though. He's bringing
Yeah,
yeah,
I
that
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
He's
we
bringing
all
that
love
heat.
eBay, but we've got to like examine things too. We can't just be like
Yeah, yeah,
Pollyanna.
like yeah. I mean, maybe I just feel this way because I listed a lot yesterday.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. You see, that's what it is. And
Yeah.
he's just
79%
grumpy.
say eBay helps them connect with and sell to unique groups of customers.
I agree. I agree.
Oh, do you agree on
Yeah.
that one?
Wouldn't you agree,
Well,
Anna?
well, yeah. I mean, especially because I sell all the weirdest crap that like
Mm.
people want for like weird reasons, and it's not your typical commodity items. Like eBay is the place to go find those things.
Yeah.
And I
That
love
and
I
then
love
yeah,
selling them. It's so fun.
like the one-off item. Even before
Mhm.
becoming a seller, like certain car parts that are old and
Yeah.
that you can't buy, it's kind of like the place that I've bought from before.
Yeah.
Sneakers, collectible sneakers,
Yeah.
even older sneakers. Like it's still is the place, and was been known for the longest time. But even with the focus group, right? Like now there's eBay sneakers or focus category. I'm sorry, it's the focus category, right?
Mhm.
eBay sneakers, eBay luxury, eBay motors, eBay collectibles, cards. I
Yeah,
think
trading
more
cards.
and more, right? It's more clear that they are trying to get the seller's product in front of the
The right
specific buyers.
people.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah, I think so too. And also now that, I think it says yeah, to unique groups of customers. At the same time, it seems like the most globally available customers too. So it's like
Mm.
maybe your unique group of customers isn't somewhere else in the world, but they can actually buy it on eBay. So that's pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
You've got like the breadth and the depth.
So,
Go ahead, Glenn.
oh, I was gonna say. So, Kenny. So, what do you think the percentage would be of sellers that identify as accidental successful entrepreneurs?
Because
Zero.
as we've
Because
established,
there's no such thing as accidental success. Well, there is. There are people that actually um realize that they have I would say my sneaker business is an accidental success because I've built up all that passion for sneakers as as just a collector or just person that appreciates sneakers, and all of a sudden found the opportunity because I was already a person that wants to take things to the next level.
Mhm.
Insert the platform, all of a sudden I have a new car to ride on, and it just so happened that this car can take me further,
Mm.
compared
yeah,
to if I stumbled into a brick and mortar or a different platform that was just starting, right? Imagine if I started on like a back then when eBay started and I love sneakers, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably would have failed, right? Because like there's such a thing to become too coming into a platform too early. Would you agree?
yeah.
Yeah, true.
Well, for running a business, I mean, that's the other
Yeah.
thing too. It's like these. I don't know that I fully consider myself an accidental entrepreneur because okay, let me back up. I think that there are many different ways of being an accidental entrepreneur, but
Right.
no matter what, no matter how it transpires, there is a point of decision where you
Yeah.
go, I am going to make this a business. I am going to
Hmm.
treat this like a business, If nothing else, when you file your taxes, you have to decide, is this a business? You know? Um like I did set out for my eBay store to be in earnest an actual stream of income,
Yep.
and I knew that I was going to treat it like a business even if it was a part-time business. And then
That's
there was
true.
a further level of decision when I decided it was going to be a full-time business, but either way, it's for me it wasn't like, oh, I just like listed a few things here and there and all of a sudden it had never occurred to me, oh, I should run this like a business. Like I set out to run it like a business,
That
but
is true.
it was part-time, but there was like a point of decision where I decided like I wouldn't have listed 500 things as fast as I could in the first month if I wasn't
If you
trying
didn't,
to run
yeah.
a
If
business.
it
You
was
know
it
what I
was
mean?
accidental, right? No,
Right.
no, I don't think I agree. There's no accidental thing. Like now looking back at it, I form an LLC as soon as um I got an eBay store. Like a
Mm.
Yeah.
store subscription, I
I
got an
think you
LLC right after,
stumble
right?
into the question, am I going
Yeah.
to identify as an entrepreneur and start a business with this, or am I going to just trifle and it's a hobby?
Yeah.
What about you, Glenn? What's your take? Do you think you're accidental entrepreneur because of eBay?
Um. Yes and no. I'm an accidental. It's like
Accidental
I just
mogul.
didn't like trip and fall, and then I just
Well,
fell into
Right.
did
like
you
a
Right.
did you
A
well
pile
because
of sneakers.
no,
yeah,
wait,
and
wait,
then all
wait.
of a sudden I just sold them.
Somebody
Because
body
here's the
checked
thing
you
though.
into a shelf at Burlington, and the rest is
Yeah.
history.
Yeah,
True.
because here's the thing. Nobody stumbled on the platform because it's very hard to stumble on eBay accidentally. We've heard of
Yeah.
eBay, right? It's not
Yeah.
like a new
Yeah.
startup in the last 10 years, right? Like I would I would go out and say like like you're a sneakerhead, next thing you know, Gold or StockX just started, you probably stumble into it. Like I
Mm.
would say I stumbled into Whatnot because Glenn told me. I
Mm.
wouldn't have a clue without Glenn telling me what
So
Whatnot
Glenn
was.
caused you to stumble.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I went all in. I went
I
crazy, a little
tripped him.
crazy.
You
Yeah, he
tripped him
tripped
right
me
I
and
up.
put
went,
my leg out and
yeah,
tripped him. He stumbled into
Sucker.
whatnot.
yeah. I
Sucker.
literally and got
Into a
suckered in for a year.
puddle of whatnot.
Yeah, I mean like I got yellow all over me for a year.
I mean, you're
So
the bee. You already have yellow all over you.
yeah,
Anyway.
That's
exactly.
true.
So Anna, what about the word entrepreneur? Is that an issue or not really? Do you care for that word?
Well, I
Would you
it's
call yourself
okay.
that?
Um, yes, but I feel like it does have certain connotations also, and just
Is it
like
good or bad?
I think it
I
turned
don't
into a
know.
hype word.
I think it did too,
A
and
mainstream word,
I think
right?
it actually means something a lot more broad than like the image that immediately comes to mind if you just hear the word entrepreneur in
It's like the hustle
isolation.
era,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Kind of
that's
like
kind
when you
of
go on someone's IG and it says entrepreneur on their
yeah,
title, and
right.
that was never a thing. That was never a thing.
Well, it's one of
it
those
was a thing.
things.
No. I'm
It's
saying like before it got mainstream and hype, it was never
Oh
a
yeah,
yeah,
thing.
yeah, no, no,
Like
no.
right.
everybody just called
Now
themselves as a businessman or a
yeah,
business owner,
it's a
right? Like,
buzzword. Yeah. Well, and I just kind of feel like it's I don't know. It's sort of one of those things, and maybe this is gonna like offend some people, it might, but like
say it.
if you have to like write it on your forehead, then maybe the lady doth
Mm,
protest too much and you know what I
mm,
mean?
that's
Like
true.
it's like
Yeah,
why
Mm.
do you have to go and say it constantly? If
yeah,
it's true, and who cares about the label or whatever. But I mean, you could really make that argument with any label. But I do think it's
yeah.
one of those things that people use that word to try to impress other people or something, or to try to
Yeah.
communicate something like, I don't know, edgy
Put it
or
this way.
something. But
Yeah,
yeah. But I
put
think,
it this way.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what it
Go ahead.
really means, I think, widely applies to anybody who's starting a business, but that's not what they're trying to communicate by saying that.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you don't have to say it. I mean, the people that are using the word entrepreneur are surrounded with non-entrepreneur people.
Yeah.
Because if you go in a room and you see a room full of entrepreneurs, you'd be goofy to say you're an entrepreneur. Because
Well,
y'all be identifying
exactly.
each other, right? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like us, right? Like if we go to an eBay event and then Glenn comes to me like, "Hi, I'm Glenn. I'm an eBay seller." Like obviously you're here, fool. Like I'd be saying that. Like
Right.
like I'm an eBay YouTuber. Like yeah, obviously because you make YouTube for eBay
Well,
selling.
yeah. Well, like
Like
yeah, I like same weird feeling about it, right? Like in conversation, I don't know, like in the right context, I might say that like, yeah, I would consider myself an entrepreneur, but I'm not like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Anna, an entrepreneur." Like it's not like that.
mm,
But
Yeah.
like, there was a kind of a liquidation based local small business that I sourced some things at recently, which was cool. They had a business card at their checkout, at their register in their brick and mortar location. And on their business card, it said YouTube influencer. It was like reseller and YouTube influencer. And that's another one of
wow.
those things where I'm like, first of all, do you call it a YouTube influencer? I think people who actually do that call themselves content creators, probably, if anything, or they just don't
Mm.
they don't talk about it like that. Like it was just struck me as so funny, and I immediately thought like this is probably just showing how judgmental I can be, but I immediately thought like, well, how influential is your YouTube channel if you have to like
Yeah.
tell everyone on your business card that you're a quote YouTube influencer unquote? Like that just seemed weird to me. Is
All
that
right.
weird?
Yeah, it is. I haven't heard Glenn say that he's an influencer. I mean,
I haven't
he
said
I've
probably
anything
run.
because now I have to
I've
cancel my Vista print order of 1,000 business cards
I've seen
That
with
has
that
Glenn
it.
exact title. So
I've seen
thanks.
Glenn viscerally cringe whenever the word influencer comes
No,
up and is anywhere
yeah,
near him. So
yeah. Well, to clear it out, right? Just looking at the word entrepreneur versus businessman. Um, Google said an entrepreneur is an individual having an exclusive idea to establish a new venture, so something new. A businessman is an individual who established a business with an old business idea. So,
Hmm.
um, my take on that is kind of like an entrepreneur is more like an innovation of something that's already existing that you're trying to create something out of it, versus a businessman is just like already an existing kind of like car wash, right? Like somebody already has a car wash and then just opens a car wash. An entrepreneur is, what if he opens a car wash that has a bakery attached to it and has a coffee shop? That's entrepreneur. for me because it's kind of like an
It's
innovation of an
innovative.
existing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you guys? What's you guys' take on that one? And how does that apply to like being an eBay seller?
Hmm. Well, I think I'd prefer, I guess, businessman or woman than entrepreneur, but
Hmm.
for the eBay side.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
That's
like
true.
on any whatever form or something I have to fill out where I have to identify, I say like I'm a owner
Business owner,
operator
right?
of a small
Yeah.
business. Yeah. But
Mm.
I mean, I think the innovation is definitely part of it. I also think it's like I don't know, it's like starting a business that you are the one who's kind of doing it like it's your thing that you're trying to get off the ground. You're putting in the time and blood, sweat and tears and your capital, and it's your idea, and you want to see like an idea come to life, like,
Right.
and maybe it's innovative and maybe it's not, but it's, I don't know, I do think that innovation is like generally part of like
Right.
the picture that
Does
comes to mind.
does it
Yeah.
have to be because um as an eBay seller, you get to be more creative and you can have more input about how to run a business, that there's just no one way of, for example, like if you get into a business of restaurant, there's a lot of standard operating procedures already established for that industry.
Right.
um Compared to like an eBay seller, I feel like it's more entrepreneur-esque because there's really not much written rule as far as this is what you can sell and not sell, and the rest, anything within the borders of what's legal and not,
Yeah. Right.
is you do your own way, right? so
Right.
so I think it's more of like the creation of the lifestyle and the life you create with having an eBay store, an e-commerce store, I think
Yeah.
becomes a very entrepreneur.
That's a very
It leans to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's a very creative side of it. And like, I mean, I think for example, I think about Alex Carrera who runs Save a Suit. Like that seems very entrepreneurial to me because he's like supporting veterans and he's got like this very mission minded, cool operation that's not just like, ho hum, here's another eBay store that just kind of sells men's
Stuff from
clothing.
Ross and
Right.
Burlington and
Yeah. Oh my gosh, sneakers. No, but
Another
like,
sneaker
but I
seller.
think, there are things about each business that makes it unique, and maybe it's structural and maybe it's mission related and maybe it's creative in some other way, but I think there's like we are all small businesses. So there is definitely a foundation there, but there are a lot of different ways that I think the entrepreneurial spirit can come through. Sorry, I kind of
Hmm.
mumbled there. We're almost through this report. So what else you
Oh
got for
yeah,
us,
we got
Glenn?
one more. This is
Okay.
a big one. Okay, so sellers realize there is value in pre-owned goods, and they come to eBay to find customers for those items.
Yes.
Recommerce is a central to who we are, or is central to who we are, helps small businesses thrive and enables a more sustainable future for us all. 77% of sellers reported selling pre-owned goods on eBay, and nearly half of them didn't think their pre-owned business could succeed without eBay.
I would agree heartily with that sentiment.
So how does that change from the ones that said they would not be able to exist without eBay was 29%.
I know. Well,
77% say they didn't think their pre-owned business could succeed without eBay.
but those are the ones who sell pre-owned goods. So that's the
Mm.
selected out,
Mm.
sample of the whole sample size of people who sell pre-owned. So maybe a lot of the people who were, not saying that they could exist without or saying they could exist without eBay were not people who sold pre-owned stuff.
Mm.
Because honestly, it's like, I mean, there are now multiple other platforms where you can sell pre-owned stuff, especially like certain kinds of pre-owned stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, the you can sell pre-owned basically anything place is still eBay
Yeah. And
or a yard
here's the
sale.
thing though. Yeah, true. I'm kind of we're in a weird state right now when it comes to like,
Texas
let's
is
say
such a
United
weird state. I
States.
agree.
United States, let's say, because I know this is
Okay.
global, but you see, this is why we have Anna on this podcast.
Yeah.
Just to like
Um,
harass you.
Okay, so small pre-owned items. We want to charge a good amount of money. The problem is store prices are starting to get to like the same price as pre-owned prices.
Yes.
So initially pre-owned I think was great as far as like economy's down. Let's find some cheaper items. They're pre-worn, they're pre-owned,
Yeah.
and I can get a great deal, maybe buying in a bundle and so on. But now I'm at the point where like, man, like vintage tees are sky high or
Yeah.
other pre-owned like, pre-owned jeans. Okay, cool. If you price them at $13.99, I mean like H&M and other brands are doing like
Oh
18
yeah.
bucks or
And you would be
17 and
hard pressed to price them that way if you're getting them from like a chain thrift store where they're like $8 or $9 to buy them
yeah.
used. Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
those prices are going up. Yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, it's like really weird right now.
Yeah, it is.
And I know with pre-owned though, we can definitely see the upside on shoes and like sneakers and stuff because hype shoes $500 plus, people are like, I'm not gonna be paying that. But
Yeah.
slightly worn, 9 out of 10, very near dead stock. Okay, now we're talking. I can get a great deal on it. And
Yeah.
that's where I think you want to go on the eBay side compared to, StockX
But
or
it's
maybe
like,
even Goat.
yeah, your parameters are getting narrower.
True.
You know what?
So,
I was just looking at certain statistics because I know me and Glenn have heard it before. It was very high, the amount of percentage of use versus new listings.
Yeah.
This was 2019 that 80% of the products are new.
Yeah. Well, and at some point, probably, a little bit before then, right? eBay started having like big companies have their own
Yep.
presence where they're selling their new stuff too. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting because they want to like be the everything marketplace and they are,
Right.
but like just by volume, whenever a huge company can list their
For sure.
20,000 items from their regular store website over, like the
Hmm.
numbers are going to change astronomically in like a pretty short period of time for like the ratio
Yeah.
of
For
what's
sure.
new and
Yeah.
what's used.
mhm,
There's one more thing from this report that I want to pull out. Is that okay?
mhm,
Sure.
mhm.
It is off to the side, but it says a safe and trusted marketplace. Sellers value the community that has been built on eBay over the past 28 years. That's right, folks. Their 30-year anniversary is in 2025. With
Mm.
55% reporting that community is essential or very important to them. And this is under a safe and trusted marketplace because a critical factor of the community thriving is maintaining a safe and trusted marketplace, which is a top priority at eBay. But I do think that's really interesting for us as eBay sellers who obviously are creating content for sellers who care about community, right? Like, here's the community saying, hey, community is important. And that is, hello, why we have the Seller Club. So I just wanted to point that out.
Very true. I didn't even know, man, 30 years.
I
Coming up
Yep.
know.
quick.
Yeah, I
Coming
saw
up
28
fast.
and just, really quickly did the math and was like, dang, that's unbelievable.
So 55%, yeah, reporting that community is essential or very important to them.
So, so from what it looks like, 55% are friendly and um willing to learn
Willing to
from
learn.
others. Yeah, right.
Some of the others might live
The
under
other
rocks.
45,
It's
yeah, the
okay. I
other
did
45
too.
are probably like brands already, or they don't have internet yet. I'm just joking. They don't
They
have
just don't care.
smartphones. They don't mess with social
I
media,
mean, I
and
do
they're
understand the people who are like, no, the reason I'm doing this is so that I don't have to interact with people every day and I can just
that is true.
quietly ship stuff and anonymously sell stuff. Like, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a lot
Just
of
stay in
people who
my
well
are,
that
zone.
yeah,
yeah,
that's why
right.
they just have to listen to the Seller Club podcast because they only have to listen to three people.
Right.
They don't have to
True.
listen to everybody else.
And we don't even talk over each other all of the time, just some of the time.
Just some of the time.
Yeah, but that's because we're trying to give each other space.
It's
That's
true.
literally it. It's like,
Yeah.
no, your turn. Oh, mine,
Yeah.
yeah. That's it.
We're way
That's
too
really
polite.
Yeah.
yeah.
Moderately well, very well, or extremely well on talking over each other.
Uh,
I'd say moderately
Moderate?
well.
I'd say
Moderate.
moderate.
Okay, moderate. Okay,
I'm
20,
glad
like
you
22%.
she says as she talks over Glenn. I am glad you said that though, because I do encourage people. I mean, now it's like we've already talked through all these points, but I think these are interesting to think about for ourselves. Like, and we've kind of been doing that. Like, well, where do we stack up with these statistics? How much do we agree or disagree or whatever? But, I think it is interesting to think about eBay's relationship to you and your small business. If you sell on eBay, of course, if you don't, then this whole conversation is not that relevant to you. But to ask yourself, like, do I feel like they are my champion? Do I feel like community matters? Do I feel like, what's my outlook and my gut level feeling about the next 12 months or the next 5 years on eBay? Like, those are really cool questions to consider for
Yeah.
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. I think out of the 55%, I was 5% of that.
You,
What?
because that's how much
Yeah.
you love community.
Yeah, that's just how much I value and think that community is essential. Because besides being an accidental entrepreneur that I don't think we should believe in, there's no such thing as that. But I think it's more of like accidental part of the community. That
Some of us are
um
dragged.
yeah. Like I was gonna say, Anna, you can't say you are accidentally. You literally was dragged out of the hole. I was accidental because like I googled it and accidentally Glenn popped up. So
I think a better word is serendipitously for that one.
that's true.
Mm,
Kismet, if you will.
The stars aligned.
Yeah, exactly. Destiny.
Destiny. There we
Destined.
go.
Let's go with Destiny. I like that one.
All right. So, I mean, this was fun, right?
Yeah,
I like it.
interesting report. Also think it's interesting eBay even takes the time to poll 4,000 plus sellers to see how
Mhm.
they're feeling about like small business owners, people who, actually do identify that way. Like, I think it's cool. I hope they do it again next year. Like, this is the second
Yeah.
annual one, and
And,
hopefully we'll see a lot
and
more.
then we can have a podcast with them.
Yeah,
We can have
right.
a podcast with
You got to email
that's
them.
yeah. Do it again, but please
Please include Kenny if you're listening.
or
Please
no,
include
you don't have to
Kenny.
include me. So this is what we need to do. They don't include us in the poll, but we get to dissect the poll after. How about that?
Okay.
We get
Well,
I'm
a
yeah,
open
bunch
to
of
because
that.
we can't like, discuss it unbiased if we are part of it.
Oh
So
yeah, that's true. And then they release the demographic and the GMV group of the people that are part of it.
yeah. Well, and also like this is a 2-page fact sheet. Like
Yeah,
they can't
yeah,
include every data point on it, or it'd be way too much information. So
that's true. Like the fact that nobody really even reads this, it's really probably good that we get to openly discuss this. And at least we have a plan for 2024 for the next small business report.
yeah,
We'll be
totally.
ready.
We're ready. I love that.
All
Well,
right. Anything else?
How do we end this? How do we end this?
Well, I think this was a great episode. We talked about a small business report. We talked about eBay. Next episode, your questions, Q&A. Right? Is that what we're doing?
I don't
Sure.
know. Don't say that.
Okay, put a little mark clip.
Yeah, put a marker. What we were gonna do some Q&A on this episode, but I don't know how long
Oh.
it's been. So because
Oh,
we
we're
only have a
at
couple.
58 minutes.
Okay, so we didn't do a shorter one. Well, there's only a couple of questions. I can
Let's
just
just
run
do
through them really
popcorn
quick
Q&A.
if you want.
Let's
Yeah,
just
you want to do
popcorn
that?
Q&A it. That way,
Okay.
let's slow the
Okay.
Q&A.
Okay.
So start again. Let's do silence, and then we'll.
Yeah,
And then who does it? Anna takes over.
I can do it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we have some questions. This has been, a lot of talking about the small business report, which is really interesting, kind of housekeeping for eBay sellers, seller club included. But we do have some Q&A questions for this week that we can answer really quick. And please ask us your questions. We want to answer your questions on the air. We just have a couple this week, so it works out really well because we wanted to talk about that report too. But first, before I share questions, there's one listener tip I wanted to share. because it pertains to something that we talked about on a previous episode. So Beverly Thrifts contacted me and said she listened to an episode of the podcast where Ken said that he copies and pastes standard responses from the Notes app in his phone whenever you're replying to buyer questions. So do you remember that, Ken? Is that ringing a bell?
Yep, I remember that. Yeah,
Okay. So
the
Beverly said,
templates. Yeah,
oh,
like a
yeah.
generic response. Yeah.
Yes, like right. If it's like, yeah, something that you could generically respond. But she said she just wanted to pass on that in the iPhone you can program keyboard shortcuts to do the same thing, but it cuts down on your time. Or listing on the computer, she uses text blaze. So I just wanted to throw that out there for anybody that might want an even shorter shortcut to give kind of a canned response about something.
Yeah. So
To
let's say like on the
buyers.
iPhone, it's like for shipping, right? And then you can just type uh eBay ship, and all of a sudden that
Yeah,
pops up, right?
right.
Mm,
So
okay.
even more shortcuts, which is great. Normally, shortcuts get a bad rap, but sometimes it's in the name of efficiency. It's like a great tool. So thank you for that, Beverly.
Yeah, probably need to start doing that.
I know, right? I should too. I haven't, but yeah, it would be a good time saver for sure. Okay, so a couple of questions. They're a little bit specific, but we'll just round robin on them really quick. So Mama Small asked how to find online estate sales and what exactly are we looking for? So my question for you guys is, do you shop online estate sales at all, or have you ever?
No.
I have not done any online. I have gone to estate sales years back. I really didn't really find success in the estate sales compared to just like flat out garage sales and or
Mm,
flea market stuff.
yeah.
But online I haven't.
Ken, you?
Anna?
Nope, I haven't shopped estate sales in my life.
Well,
Oh,
you're
in my
missing out.
life.
No, yeah, I
Never
haven't. I
in my
haven't.
Oh,
life.
okay. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I have. I haven't since I've lived in this state, but in my former
Mm.
state of Georgia, there was an online estate sale auction website called Max Sold, and it's in a bunch of different states. I don't know if it's in Illinois or not, and I just haven't been trying to source that way yet since I've been here. But Max Sold, if you have it in your state, was amazing because they, take pictures of everything, and it's like sometimes there's only like one picture and it's not a great lot of detail about what you're buying, but you can get, stuff for really cheap. I've sourced some of my best items ever at Max Sold auctions because, maybe it wasn't the clearest and I took a little chance on it, but it was really dirt cheap anyway. And so, sometimes I would even arrive. So you bid online and then you show up on a designated day and time to go collect all of your stuff. So it's really like efficient in that way because you're not standing around at an auction all day and you know exactly you've already paid for it. It's like really straightforward, which is great.
Hmm.
But sometimes I literally did have this happen where the pictures were just like not it just did not do justice to the amount of stuff, and I ended up having to actually leave some stuff behind because it
Mm.
was so much more stuff than what I thought I was bidding on. So just be careful with that. But I had a huge carload of stuff for like pennies, and I'm still selling that stuff today. So if you have Max Sold, check it out. It's a great online estate auction site. So bid everything online, go pick it up all at once. It's great. And that way you can also research items like before you bid on them, which is handy too,
Yep.
if you can identify what it is. So that's my main, that's the only experience I have with it, but that was really great. And I did tons of those when I was in Georgia.
There you go.
All right. So another from the same person also asks how to sell postcards. Like, do we sell a bundle of them? Do we sell one at a time? Or are they more valuable depending on where it's from, etc.? So you guys don't sell postcards, but I want to entertain these specific questions because I'm sure we'll get some sneaker
Yep.
questions that I will have no input on either. So also it's interesting because I'm definitely a jack of all trades. Like I don't, I'm not a postcard expert, but I do have a lot of postcards. In my store, I sell them regularly. If they're really cool, sometimes I'll sell them individually. A lot of times I just put them in groups. So it's like here's and they're like vintage or whatever. Some of them are posted, some of them are unposted. And really it's just like with that kind of thing, I think about if I wanted to buy this and put it in my gallery wall at my house, how much would I be willing to pay for 5 vintage postcards of castles in Scotland or whatever. And,
Mm.
like all the ones I sell came from one huge lot that I got a long time ago. It's like literally almost free. They're super easy to list, they're super easy to store, super easy to ship. So it's one of those things that like any money that I make from them is going to be really good, and I've put very little time into them too. So there are some postcards that are way more valuable, but I don't think that's any of the kind that I've ever listed. Mine are just kind of garden variety,
Mhm.
70s, 80s Europe type of stuff. So don't have a ton of experience with that, but there are people who sell only postcards who know way more about it, the materials they're made from, the condition that they're in, where they're from, the era they're from, all that does matter. So that's all I
Do you
know.
scan them or do you take pictures of them?
Just pictures.
Oh, okay. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I really haven't looked a whole lot at how other people do them either. So maybe
Mm.
scanning them is a thing that I should be doing and I'm not.
Mm.
Okay. And then the
So to
last thing,
end, to
yeah.
end, I have one question that I
Oh.
found on our IG DMs.
Oh, good. Okay, what is it?
Yeah, from our guy,
I missed it.
Dapper Fanatic.
Oh,
Oh,
hey.
okay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right.
So Dapper Fanatic asks, question for the club: what's your biggest pet peeves? Let's keep it in the reselling world. Because you don't want me talking about food or
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
In a reselling world, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Oh, recent pet peeve. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I don't know what I thought you said at first. I don't know. I was trying to like what biggest pet
biggest pet
peeve.
peeves or peeves or multiple.
I feel like I have so many peeves, you guys.
What?
I
Oh
have a lot of
wow.
them. I
A
do.
lot.
I, let me start. I have one. I have one that just pops right up.
Okay.
It's it's blaming the platform.
Yes, that was one of mine.
Um
Mm.
and like there are times that I've probably been a little bit too honest. I'm not gonna say I'm rude. I'm just honest.
Direct,
That when
blunt,
direct, blunt, or frank,
frank.
uh, I've said this. Well, do you have a contract, an exclusive contract on selling on that platform? And then when they say no, I said, well, there you have it. If you don't like it on that platform, you can sell on other platform. Because sometimes I feel like everybody, most of the complainers just blame the platform because they're not doing well, and they always say like, "Oh, they're always after me. They're not
Yeah.
for me. They just want to like suspend me, or like they hide my listings." And I'm like, "Well, like if that's true and you're right, you better run away from this platform because there's no way you're gonna succeed
Yeah.
here,
Right.
right?" So that's my pet peeve, and I'm sorry for being a little too honest because I've asked
That's
multiple
okay,
people
Frank.
that, and I've said like,
First it was
well, is that your? Do you have an exclusive selling contract with that platform? If and and let's start there. And if you do, then suck it up. You sign the contract, and if you don't, leave.
yeah, it's a free choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe I would
Who's gonna go?
say
And
pet
Glenn.
peeve would be, I guess, getting. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's still. I mean, it hurts everybody. Just seeing like returns. I know you're gonna say, "Come on now," but when I see it on the phone, I'm like, "Okay, I get a return." Now, for the most part, I'm like, at the very moment, you're feeling a little hot. You're just like,
Because Glenn does free returns, right?
I
You do free
exactly.
returns.
I do free
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
returns.
You're like, "Oh, I'm so glad I get to pay for this shipping twice."
I know.
Yeah, it's
Um, but I think what gets bad is like when you get it and it's like completely damaged or things like that. Like I know I
yeah.
can take a percentage off or whatever being top rated plus seller, but it's just
Yeah.
like, and I hate we use this example too, like, well, if you're at Target and you want to return something, they have to go through the same thing you do because you return an item. But I don't. I'm gonna return an item, I'm not gonna return it
Broken.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Unsellable. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's just like
Yeah.
a totally different thing there.
I totally
That I'm
agree.
like,
So your
come on,
your pet peeve are abusive customers.
pretty much.
I know.
I mean, if I get the item back and it's the same item I sent to you
That's
in the
fine,
same
right? No harm,
condition,
no
yeah,
foul,
like
right? Yeah.
yeah, there you go, full refund. Like, because I know I can just sell it, put it back in the inventory wherever it goes. But if it's just like completely, I don't know, you don't know what kind of condition it's in, and it's just like, come on now, I would just say that.
What about you, Anna?
My mind is still spinning because I'm like immediately like, okay, pet peeve for fellow sellers, pet peeve for buyers, pet peeve for myself. So I'm gonna
Social
choose.
media.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh my god, why do I have so many peeves? However, this is ironic because the one I'm going to choose actually applies to all of those, which is just good old fashioned complaining. I mean, I think a lot of times,
Mm.
you know, with, well, I don't know. Yeah, I have a lot of peeves. So, which could be construed as complaints, but complaining is a choice. So, like, I
Mm,
could have these peeves and I could decide how much I'm going to let them bother me, how much I'm going to, spend time and energy airing them out and giving them more power than they deserve or whatever. Oh, sorry. I just hit my microphone. But I
don't have to
think
be that angry.
I know, gosh, so aggressive.
It's
But
really a pet peeve.
but seriously, when I hear like buyers complaining about stuff, it drives me nuts when they're like the old classic of like, well, I could go buy this from so and so for this much, or like trying to like somehow like denigrate your item to get you to sell it to them cheaper, like all that nonsense. I'm just like, get away from me with that. But then also sellers, like kind of like what you're saying, Ken, like people who are not taking responsibility as much as maybe we feel like they should for their own choices and their own business and just blaming other stuff. And like there are real circumstances, but like yeah, you can't just blame the platform for everything. If all you're doing is complaining about the problems, like you're not going to see any improvements, like you have to put your energy into something that's constructive. So, and I'm including myself in that. Like I get in ruts where I feel really complainy and I'm just like feeling like I don't have as much control as I would like, or I don't have as much influence over my business as I would like. And I get irritated with myself when I find myself complaining. So I feel like it is across the board. Like
Mm.
it's definitely peeve worthy, but there are many others.
Oh man, that might be its own episode.
That would be the airing of
Anna's pet
grievances.
peeves.
All my pet peeves.
We're just gonna break
Actually,
them all
though,
down one by one.
I have always wanted. I was the kid when I was growing up. I grew up in a household with lots of pets and farm animals, and I had 6
Mm.
ferrets at one point. I was like the ferret girl. Okay. Yeah, and I
Mm.
love ferrets, but as an adult, I haven't had owned ferrets since I was a kid, but I've always wanted to get a ferret and name it Peeve so that I can call it my pet peeve because
I
ferrets are
like that.
very mischievous too, and like the name Peeve is perfect for a ferret. So if anybody wants to
Peeve.
donate a ferret to me, I'll name it Peeve and it will be my pet peeve.
I like that.
I know.
All right, we'll get that ready for the holidays. That'd be a nice
Well,
gift.
Someone send me a ferret. Thank you.
Yeah,
well, there you have it, guys.
it's like 100
Episode.
fairies came in.
Oh my gosh. That would be so unsettling. Please don't let that
Look at all
happen.
these peeves.
So it's like exactly the number of pet peeves I actually have. Wow.
They're gnawing on my inventory. Okay, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, I was
Frank.
just
It's
trying to
Frank.
end it
It's Frank
because
now.
you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to end it, but guys, there you have it, episode 9. We're really getting good at ending stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, if people are listening until the end, we struggle on how to end this. But there you have it. It is December. Make sure everything's organized and be that successful, non-accidental entrepreneur.
Yes, and that
Because
optimistic seller too.
Yep. So get everything listed if they're not listed yet, and to say. All right. Can somebody end it?
Why you were going so
brain
well.
farting.
I know.
Brain farting.
I've got it.
Okay,
All
good.
right. Let's go.
And make sure that you take some time to enjoy your life that you have built this business around. And don't just spend all your time working. Happy December.
See you guys.
Peace. Seller Club, we out.
Ken's out.